Hello, everybody. Today we will dissect the nomenclature of awards and what they really mean to people, along with the solicitude of solitary entertainment. In other words, let's go have a look at what awards got what categories, as well as we'll have a look at a little bit at solo gaming. So, did I stump you at all, Dana?
Of course.
No
idea.
Okay. Fair enough.
You lost me at hello.
She's got a headache already.
I think I lose everybody at hello. But
nomenclature. That's all I got out of that.
Anyway, all right. Well, look, today's cast is we have Joe.
Howdy.
Dana.
Hello.
And our returning special guest star, Matt.
Hi there.
So, our first thing that we will kick off with is, what did we play last? And I'll start with Matt.
Me?
Yes.
Well, we got a new game called Spots. We picked that off from Shut Up and Sit Down, I think. Featured it on their small box episode they did recently.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
It's a cute little push your luck game with dice.
Mm-hmm.
Dog-based. So the rule book starts off, dogs have spots and dice have spots, so put the dice on the dogs. And that's the game.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. You get
it's on BGA already.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that was quick.
Yeah.
You get a whole bunch of dice, and you get these cards with all these little dogs on it, and you start off with a couple dogs, and you got to roll the dice according to these 6 different like rules they have that are all variable. You can pick out, random 6 for the game, and then you roll so many dice and re-roll so many based on these rules, and you got to match them up to the spots on the dog. So each dog's got like 1, 2, or 3 different locations on it for the dogs, and then you match them up, and then once you score them off, you got to score 6 dogs and you win it. But it's one of those push your luck games that really give you those situations, where like first game we played, I went, I need a 1, 3, and a 6, and boom, roll 3 dice and get a 1, 3, and a 6, and you like fall off your chair. It's like one of those fun little games.
Right. Dana, what about you? Anything exciting?
Well, on Tuesday night at the Southside Club, I played Ra. I was really looking forward to playing, because I had the top of the line edition courtesy of Joe and the Southeast Queensland Kickstarter buys. So I had the metal coins and metal point tokens and wooden pieces, which looked delightful. Really, they were just top notch. It was great. But anyway, I played Ra, and I have to say I didn't like it, and I've since been onto BGG and had a look at other people's comments about the game, and probably 95% of the comments are rating a 8 to 10, and all very positive and how wonderful it is. But oh my God, for me, and there was myself and actually there were 6 of us playing, and myself and another lady, Fee, and honestly, we couldn't just grasp what was even remotely interesting about this game. It was it's an auction game, so you're each taking turns to draw out tiles from a bag, and if you draw out a certain particular tile, a red tile, then an auction happens. And in this game, you've got 3 bidding tiles, a bit like in Nidavellir. I'm not sure if you've played that before, but you've got bidding tiles with numbers on them, and obviously the highest number that bids wins.
But I like Nidavellir. As far as auction games go, that's a little set collection with the cards.
That's right. I don't mind that, but the difference with Ra is that you can draw out this red tile, which makes it an immediate auction, and if you have really bad luck, sometimes it can really just screw you over. and because it can come out very early and you're last in the auction, and sometimes there's only one tile there, and then it takes you a whole nother round to sort of get decent tiles out to be last bidder in the auction again. So as you're going around in turn order, and and I sort of had that happening where I was just constantly drawing out these red auction tiles straight away, and I found it very frustrating. See, and the difference to me with Nidavellir is that yes, you may come last in the auction, but you get something.
Mm-hmm.
Still get to grab a card, whereas in Ra, you don't get anything. You don't lose your bidding token, but at the same time, you get nothing. And it was frustrating to me. Whether I maybe don't have an auction type bidding brain, maybe that's just not my strong suit. I don't know, but I actually hated this game so much that I messaged John when I got home and I said, I have Ra for sale.
Oh.
And I'd have probably taken it off you because I didn't realise that yours was the Pharaoh edition or whatever it was. So it wasn't until I went down and had a look and went, oh, I don't actually have the one that's got the nice, pretty coins. And in the end, I thought, nah, we won't worry.
It's a beautiful game, the remake.
It is.
They've done a fantastic job. Yeah. I definitely would try and get the deluxe version because you've got a big bag, and in the retail version it's cardboard tiles. And when we were sort of using Karen's tiles, I think I could see that those tiles would wear and probably be damaged just from drawing out the tiles so often. So I think it would be good to have the wooden tiles if at all possible. But anyway, it's a popular game and it's just not good with me. I just didn't like it at all. Yeah. So anyway,
Dan, do you think it wasn't the theme?
No, it's got nothing to do with the theme. It really had to do with. I think if you are plagued with bad luck, and like I said, I preface that by saying maybe auction games aren't suited to me because I'm not very clever at them. But for me, I found it was quite unlucky just having drawn out these auction tiles, and then there's hardly anything in the market that you're gaining, and you sort of feels like almost like you get screwed over, to be quite frank. So I didn't enjoy it.
I haven't played it yet, but I do have the deluxe, and I'm actually contemplating moving it on after your review. But having said that, I know that there are some games, and not to plug Age of Steam or anything, but it has an auction phase in it as well, which you can be quite punished from in turn order, and sometimes you can actually use that turn order to your benefit. From a strategic perspective, but is this because it's auction and then you've got the luck component that kind of doesn't give you, just like in Nidavellir, where you've always gonna get something? Is it because of that, do you think?
Well, like it plays over 3 epochs, and in the first epoch, I literally didn't get a single tile at all. And because I didn't get any tiles, I lost 7 points. I think I started with 5. I think you start with 5 or 10 or something like that. And I lost 7 points just in the first round for getting nothing. It was very, very difficult, especially when some areas you need tiles on both sides of your player board to be able to score. It was near on impossible for me anyway, to get them. But it's probably worthwhile you playing it first. And just seeing what you think of it. But I have played other auction games. I would rather play Nidavellir or something like something like I don't know if you've played Medici before. Has anyone played Medici before? That's a Reiner Knizia game. I'd rather play something like that. But Nidavellir is great because you get some kind of compensation. You feel like you're going somewhere. Whereas this was just going nowhere.
Plus, you could even throw the auction in Nidavellir and boost up your chips with those 2 at the bottom. You could actually not throw anything at the auction and instead opt to just upgrade your tokens, which is a neat little option.
Well, it does allow you to do that. It does allow you to, like, when you there's a like a bidding tile already in the center, and if you win the auction, you take that tile. And sometimes that can be a nice high tile, but most of the time that didn't work out for me.
I was going to say it could be a designer. Have you played? You said you played another of his games though with auctions, Reiner Knizia,
Yes.
because it could just be a designer thing that you just
Yeah.
don't click with him.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I haven't come across too many of his games that actually like blow me over or anything.
Yes. Look, I would say that as well. I would say that as well because he's very well known. He's such a big name in board gaming, but none of his games have really just like what you say have really won me over or amazed me or anything like that. But yeah.
Quest for El Dorado's cool.
Oh yeah. But it's nothing special, but I guess it's easy to play. But aside from Ra, the other one that I did play was Revive, which I played today. I did play it twice on my own because there is actually a campaign, like a 5-game campaign, and it unlocks other things in the game and changes there's a few little tweaks to rules that it changes as well. So I've only played 2 of those games, and then we just played the base game today with 3. But I think I played it with Carmen and Felicity, and I think we all enjoyed it. It's a game where you're sort of representing a tribe, and Earth has basically ceased to exist, or civilization, sorry, I should say, has ceased to exist, and you've been living under the ground for thousands of years, and you're finally coming up on top of the surface again to try and rebuild civilization according to your tribe's values, that kind of thing. Now, I was looking at Tom Vassel's review, and he said, basically what I've told you about the theme, that's the only theme that's in the game. It doesn't really come through in the game at all. but anyway, that's the idea of it. Like if you looked at the cover, at the box cover, you wouldn't even know that that's really what the game was about. Or
that's one with the one flower coming out of the ice, is it?
Yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't say that, you would give this game an award for theme or anything like that. But the mechanics I found them to be really compelling. I really like variable player powers, and it's got a little a few little tech trees and that, which I like. Lots of combos. It's like who's it? Is it Vladimir Suchi? Vladimir Suchi games, which are just lots of combos and point salad, bit of a point salad type of game, and I really loved it. There's no direct conflict, which probably suits me. I'm not really into that. And it's got multi-use cards. It's a really, really great game, and I'd highly recommend giving it a try because I think you'd enjoy it. Actually, I think you'd all enjoy it. And the components were great. Double layer player boards, and I'm going to whinge. I have to whinge. No player aids. It's like full of iconography, and there are no player aids, none. And there are these action cubes. So you're supposed to have this little player card, and you're supposed to use these 2 cubes, oversized cubes, to mark which actions you do, because sometimes the turns can be quite long because you've got lots of combos happening, and then you can't remember whether you've had 1 turn or 2 or whatever. And they only give you 1 set of cubes. There's 4 players. Like, are we going to hand cubes around, action cubes around? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I 3D printed some action cubes, but I just I can't understand. Wouldn't this have come up in playtesting? Surely someone would have said, "Do I have to hand around my action cubes? Can I not keep my own cubes?"
But did you check your rule booklet to see how many there were supposed to be included in it?
No.
Because that's why I tend to always open games up once I get them, in the event that I might have not received something. So
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
But anyway,
so you rate it rather well.
Yes, I would.
Yes.
I'd rate it an 8 or above.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
It was very, very good.
Well, the only games I got to play was we finally got around to catching up with Taran after quite. Well, for me, I don't think I saw Taran since before COVID. So that's, what's that, 3 years?
Yeah,
It's scary when I start to think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I have seen her briefly. I picked up a couple of games off her at one stage, but that was like only a flying visit. But Dana very nicely picked me up, and we went over to Taran's with Fee, and we played Welcome To. And but the game that really caught my attention, and as yet another game on my list, was Meadow.
Okay.
So I rather liked that, the mechanisms and everything. It was quite good, and I will say that the slayer of everybody at the table that night was Dana. But we won't. Yes, you won both games. You won both games, young lady. So yes, you put us all in our place.
Oh, that'll make up for Ra.
But the artwork and everything in that game was very nice. The mechanisms for playing the game, I thought, were quite simple. Obviously the only time I think that was that people spent was deciding which cards they wanted to use their activation tile on, and then we were having a huge discussion about dare I say buttholes, and which way the token was inserted into the board. So yes, it was a game of lots of fun.
You should see Joe's face.
Well, I'm sorry, Joe. It was, I wasn't going to call it a double adapter game, but it was it was certainly a lot of yes. But who was that? Who said that one? Oh, it was Taran was talking
Taran.
about the fact.
Yeah, well, you do. You've got to back him in. You've got to back the tokens in.
You've got to put the rear end into the. All right, no, we'll leave this one alone before we go any further. But so that's what I've been up to. So please, Joe, save us from me putting my foot in it and upsetting somebody. What? You've obviously had a very busy week with work, and there's a fete on this weekend that's taking up a lot of your time. So you haven't been quite as active as.
No. So it has been a very busy couple of weeks with my other hobbies kind of running over the top. So yes, focus has been on bees and honey the last couple of weeks, and hopefully I'll be able to get get him back to it. But I did get to play Terraforming Mars on Steam, and I was actually contemplating whether it was worth buying the additional expansions that have come out on some of them. So I kind of, fluctuate between BGA and Steam on some of the e-games, and I've noticed that the version that's on Steam for Wingspan and Viticulture can all be upgraded. So Viticulture now has the Tuscany expansions that you can add to it, and Terraforming Mars has the additional packs that you can buy. And why did I decide to jump into Terraforming Mars? Obviously, I was a bit disappointed that my Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition expansion was butchered, along with 98% of the population in Australia. But I actually rather enjoyed playing up against 3 other AIs, and got to reacquaint myself with a little bit of the the differences. And as much as I have the big box and all of the expansions for it, I actually think that if I had to sit down and put 4 hours of time in it, I actually think Ares Expedition actually gives it a better go. To be honest, it speeds it up a lot more, and you still get a very, very strong sense of playing the game. So yeah, I was kind of surprised myself that I thought, okay, well Ares Expedition does really could even kill it off out of my top 10 list. I think so. That's a big call on my
My
end.
guess, well, my biggest weakness, I like Ares Expedition very much because it's got simultaneous play and things, but it was the biggest limitation for me was that I only played 4. But now with the new Ares Expedition, it plays up to 6, which is
That's
brilliant.
right. If everything arrived properly. So my colleagues and our friends on the SEQ group buys, because this was one of the earlier ones before we got good numbers, but I haven't come across anyone yet that's had a perfect order. So that's within a group of 200. Have you got one? Did you get a perfect
No,
one?
no,
You
just didn't. No.
Yeah. So there's 270 odd people, and yeah, there was a lot. Poor Joyce also got hers butchered. Chris Mock on the south side got his butchered as well. So but he got things in his that were the cubes that I didn't get. But his sleeves are missing, and I've got 3 times the amount of sleeves that I didn't order because I ordered 0 sleeves.
I ordered the sleeves, and I only got half the amount. So I de-sleeved everything, and I thought, that's it. I'm not buying sleeves anymore, and I de-sleeved everything.
I probably have your sleeves. I didn't order any sleeves, and I got about 800 of them.
Well, I might
literally 4 packs.
I might
But no,
buy them off
I'm
you.
keeping them now.
Bugger you.
Because you don't like Ra and or Age of Steam. So yes, but I was intently listening to your update about Revive, Dana, and I've just quickly flicked over to BGG and I see it's rated at an 8.2, and there's a lot. Those game boards look really amazing.
They are.
Very slightly different. Well, a lot different. The tech tree side of it really intrigues me, so I'd be very, very keen to table this at LXG. Maybe that in a Scarface run.
We have to play that.
Yeah, that seems to be the topic amongst a number of people, including apparently people enjoyed my stand in line. Let me have first bite of it if somebody decides to sell it.
Yeah, I was a bit cheeky posting behind it saying, "Did you have a copy?" when I clearly knew that you didn't have a copy. But yeah, I kind of when I start to put everything together in Scarface, there's clearly room in the games trace. And I put 2 and 2 together, and then started the rumor around that there was an expansion coming, and then within a couple of weeks, when I had a good chat with my friend Daniel Blickling, we kind of settled that, and the rumor came out, and there's another Kickstarter going on. So I definitely get this to the table before you jump in on that one. So it is area control, and there are already people are making up their own variations for it as well. So very, very keen. But that's it from me, Mr. John. Very banal week.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get the honey done and dusted. And then back to normal Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Gaming 8 days a week.
Not bad for a 9-day fortnight.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, our next topic that we're going to talk about is that the Golden Geek Awards were announced. And I actually went and had a look at the lists, and there were only 2 of the categories that I even agreed with. And the rest were...
Ooh, that's a big
I
call.
was there going, the runner-ups should have been the person who got it, not the one that was awarded. And I guess one of the ones that's actually having a bit of controversy at the moment is the war game category, where apparently one of the, I can't remember who won.
Undaunted,
but Votes for Women
Yep.
was in that category of war game, and there was a lot of people sort of going, well, it's, the Vote for Women is not really a war game. And then there was this whole debate over what is the definition of a war game. And, I must admit, when I saw Votes for Women in that category, I really scratched my head thinking, why is it?
It doesn't appear to be a war game at all. It's a bit like Watergate.
No. It's about the suffragette movement and women earning the rights. And I think it's
a similar game, I think, to Wargate, or something like that.
Maybe because Watergate, it's got a bit of area, control or majority.
It's card-driven too, like the modern war games are kind of. So I think it falls in with that area control and the card drive.
Yeah. But it was interesting anyway. Apparently the game is liked by a lot of people. I can't say that it's a game that really gets me excited to want to probably add it to my collection, and that's not from a perspective.
Is that because you're a man?
And I don't know. Well, I certainly don't categorise myself as human, so I suppose perhaps I'm not a man.
But, that's right. You're the necromancer.
I'm not really here. I'm a figment of everybody's imagination. But just going through, the only ones that I really agreed with was in the expansions. They had Dune Imperium Rise of Ix. I certainly agreed with that one. And with the war game category, it was Undaunted Stalingrad, which of course I've yet to play. But did anybody else have thoughts about the Geek, Dana?
Sure. I had a look at them as well when we decided to talk about it. Actually, to be honest, I hadn't played a lot of the games myself. I have played like the artwork presentation. That category always interests me. And the winner in that was Flamecraft. And then the runner-up was Everdell, The Complete Collection and Wonderland's War.
Yeah.
And actually, I did vote in this. And I didn't vote for Flamecraft. I voted for Wonderland's War. But certainly Flamecraft seems to be popular. That style of artwork actually isn't my taste. But I can see why it won. So I don't think it's undeserving of winning. But, Wonderland's War is certainly more my taste. I agree with definitely the Dune Imperium Rise of Ix. Very good choice. Also, Cat in the Box. I spoke about that in a previous podcast, actually. And I think that's a great light game, and also I think it was pretty good for innovative game as well. It won the innovative game category because it's trick taking, but it's got something a little bit different where you don't have suited cards in your hand, and there's some tokens that you're sort of placing, and you're getting points for adjacency. So I thought it was a very clever game. So I thought that was very well deserved. Sadly, I like in the heavy game category, and I'm sure Matt would be able to comment more about this, but I haven't played any of those games. So the winner was Carnegie, and then Endless Winter and John Company were runners up, and I haven't played any of them, and I would love to play them, but I just have not been able to play them.
No, me neither.
Well, the good thing is I have both of those and they're still in wrap. But I've spoken to quite a few people who jumped on the Kickstarter with us around it, who have slightly different views and takes and preferences. But
I've heard more people like John Company than Carnegie.
Yeah, when I saw John Company on that list, I'm surprised it didn't, but then I could probably imagine that it's not a theme that many of the modern board game players would like, considering what it's covering. So
what does it cover, actually? Because I actually don't know.
Is it the East India Company? It's dealing with, I guess, the start of imperialism.
Yep.
And the expansion of colonial powers during that period of time. So
Well, it's pretty negative, I guess, these days.
It's not, for me, myself, I find it a fascinating period of time.
Yes.
And that, but, a lot of people just, have taken stances in regards to things in the past that honestly we can't change. So, why get that excited over it? But
yeah.
But I did notice too that two of the categories, the light and the party game, I'd have thought long shot the dice game was far more entertaining.
I actually voted for long shot. For the party game. But I had a feeling Ready Set Bet would win, only just because of the talk that seems to be on BGG and YouTube and things like that. But for me, it's not the kind of game that I would play, because you've sort of got to be really extroverted. The person who's running it, sort of thing, has to be quite extroverted, and that's not me. Yeah. So,
did that Blood on the Clock Tower
come out a while ago, didn't it?
Yeah, it did come out a while ago, because not the last barbecue day, but the one before that, it was there were people playing it. So that's 6 months ago. 6 months ago, but that got runner up as well. So long shot, the dice game, and Blood on the Clock Tower, and there are people that love that game. There's specific game groups that just play Blood on the Clock Tower, so it's very popular. But once again, that's, as we've talked about before, social deduction games are not my strong suit.
So I see we missed out on the best podcast category, so we'll have to work on that for
without
year,
3 people listening.
Yes, exactly. So for that one listener out there, you've got to vote 50,000 times for us to get us up there for the best podcast. But yes.
Yeah, I think having a look myself through the list in there, and I just saw the 2-player game, Undaunted. Yeah, the Undaunted series, certainly 2 players, and there's a lot more getting published that are only in that 2-player or / solo space. But I thought Wingspan Asia and that change, including flock mode, was a great idea and concept that Stone Meyer did bring to Wingspan. I think that was a good one. Artwork presentation, Wonderland's War is pretty, but then I guess the subjectivity that comes in, a lot of people might look at and say, well, the artwork for Weather Machine is really good, or there's some other, like in Shem Phillips's Garfield Games publications, there's a particular genre of art that kind of follows that people also like that type of stuff. One thing that I haven't really teased apart yet is, why do you think Rise of X beat Immortality in the Dune Imperium space for an expansion?
I don't know. I've only played Rise of X, and I found that it didn't unbalance the game at all. As for Immortality, I've no idea. I haven't been able to play a game of it yet, so I don't know if any of us have been able to. Have we?
That could be why.
Well, I haven't jumped in and bought Immortality for that reason, John. As I think that Rise of X, and I'll play the game now with only one expansion, and that being Rise of X permanently, because I think it has lifted the game to that level that I don't think you can add a few upgrades and upgrade components and make it look really nice and fun. I just don't know if there's any more value add. Having read it, and when I did, a lot of people went nuts over it, just like they did with Rise of X, and pre-orders went crazy. But from when it got released, I kind of go, I'm not sure that I would jump into this one straight away, and I'm glad, because I think I'm really very much content just packaging Rise of X and running with that. Yeah. It's such a great game though, Dune Imperium. Despite our last endeavour at LXG being
Oh, you should have heard Fee talking about it on Wednesday, didn't she, Dana?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
how much she enjoyed it.
The 4.5-hour marathon of
Yeah.
Dune Imperium.
Yeah, well, I have a long memory, being Sicilian, and I just wanted to put it out there that I did get to 10 VP until John decided to take one of the tracks off me and drop me down to 9, so we could have ended the game.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I dragged
sooner.
the game on for another 2 turns, didn't I?
Which was about an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
I know. I deeply regret having done that, but yeah. So I'm.
But getting back to Carnegie and John Company. So out of the group, we had roughly equal numbers that backed those copies, and I went all out for both, and they weren't too far away off as Kickstarters. And John Company, obviously, second edition was a re-implementation. But I've heard a lot more people, to your point, Matt, is that a lot of people that I've spoken to have said from both are heavy games, hands down, but they certainly prefer John Company. So I wonder if this is, fallen foul of Catherine of Sorina, the same. Have kind of come to play in a little bit of this one. I wouldn't have thought that Endless Winter was a heavy category type game. But there's one in there that you see quite repeated, and that is Heat.
Yeah.
Pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
What is the fuss all about there?
Well,
I'm completely oblivious.
I only see it as another version of Flamme Rouge.
Flamme Rouge. I was going to say
it's the same mechanism, except we've made them, cars. And quite honestly, I'm really not going to bust a gut to get Heat unless it comes into the local game shop and it's a reasonable price, because I would prefer to get the expansions for Flamme Rouge because I've only got the base game, but I really do need the other 2 expansions to make that game tick along quite nicely. So, I don't know. Obviously, people don't like French bike races.
I think it's got, Flamme Rouge, because I had that as well, and it has the same sort of mechanism where you can get the slipstreaming. Where you can get a benefit from being behind someone else, and it made me think of Flamme Rouge as well when I read about Heat.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little added thing in where if you go around corners, I think maybe you've got to do certain things with cards so as to not spin out or something like that. I think there's a bit of an additional thing there, but other than that, I thought it sounded very similar to Flamme Rouge. Yeah.
And is it medium weight? Would you think it? Because I compare medium weight to kind of like Great Western Trail.
I would think it's less. I would think personally it's more a light game than anything else.
I just wanted to see on BGG what it is. So it's doesn't even have a weight rating, believe it or not, on BGG. There's no weight rating at all, which is strange. But it's rated an 8.2. So right. I think it would have been in the light to medium. Yeah,
certainly that. It's certainly I would think a very easy game to teach. I certainly found it was easy to teach Flamme Rouge.
That's a fantastic game.
Yeah,
Loved
it is.
I don't think you have to worry about Heat coming in that price mark, John. Everything I've seen is at least $100.
Yes,
not more.
yes. Pre-orders are about 110.
Yeah, it's.
But since it's come out, I've heard nothing about it. Everybody seems to just go nuts about it.
Maybe the hotness.
I'm not a car person, so.
Having said that, I haven't heard too many people in Australia talk about it because nobody has it. Or very few people have it.
From somebody apparently who's getting his copies from Norway or something, and saying that they're in Norwegian, in Norwegian. So, anyway.
The one racing game that got my attention was that Charioteer that came out of GMT. That looks interesting, but
I don't know that game.
It's
what's that about?
Just came out. Chariot racing in the Roman Colosseum.
Mm.
Card driven. Huge table hog of a board that shows the whole racetrack going around. But apparently it's card driven, that you have a hand of cards and you play so many symbols and that moves you either so far, and you can cut people off, and there's whips and all this battering going on. But when you take the corners, apparently it kind of looks like the piano keys, how the pieces go
Yep.
from black to white. So you can't take it straight, you got to zigzag around the corner, so it makes those bends slower for you unless you play these certain cards. It just looked interesting.
It sounds more like there's an old game sitting in my collection from Avalon Hill called Circus Maximus, and it was
it'd be that
it was the same thing
theme.
but it was obviously on a smaller scale, and you had the little playing pieces, the chits that had the 2 or 4 horses, and then you had the chariot, and then there was that's a 1970s odd game, so that's going back quite a way. I can remember playing it once. It's a bit like my Gladiator as well. That's another one which I'm trying to get off Mr. Chi. I'll eventually wear him down and acquire a few more of his old games. But yeah, all right.
It's almost like the Golden Geek Awards are becoming kind of like the Oscars or the Emmys.
Yeah, nobody will turn up to them.
Nothing of interest for me.
Yeah.
The Dice Tower Awards, they've had their nominations have come out, but they're not announcing them for some time, and they've got lots of categories. It is a lot more than the BGG Awards, and I find those a little bit more interesting.
Well, they're interesting because they do their version of what they think it is, and then they've got the people's vote on,
that's right.
Which I think is quite good. Just to see what the difference is between the, I guess, the content creators and what the little people think, I guess, if we'd like to call ourselves that. But so was there anything else that really stood out with the Golden Geek Awards?
Well, the only thing
I see Wonderland's War was mentioned in in a few of the categories.
Yeah.
So I think I had them down for thematic and medium category for that.
And the artwork as well. That nominated for that too.
It's quite evocative, I think, the artwork in that. So
that's just stunning. The
but,
cover really draws you in.
Yeah, but we will actually have a future podcast dealing just with artwork in games, so that'll be coming in a little while.
I noticed there was a category as well for best board game app, and actually I had bought these two. They're quite pricey for an app, but anyway, it gives me an opportunity to play. And one was Everdell. And the other one was one of the ones that was nominated was Role Player.
Yeah.
And they're both pretty good, actually. They're pretty good. Look, the only thing I'd say is that I've got a big phone. I've got a Samsung massive phone. It's probably a bit on the small side. Like I'm really having to strain to see the cards. I mean, you can click on them and they enlarge and things like that, but it's actually very, very good. It's a great way that if you can't play you can't play it on BGA because it's not available, it's a great way to be able to play if you do enjoy playing it.
Do you think getting the I think we've covered this maybe earlier, but getting the app, do you think that like the Steam type implementation of Wingspan or Terraforming Mars or Raiders of the North Sea, do you think that by introducing a bit of a campaign or that opportunity to play through it, do you think that more people would be just settled playing the digital version, maybe from time constraints, etc., or do you think that after playing Everdell, digitally, you'd happy get it out, every other weekend?
No, I would, if I was on my own, and this is something to do with solo gaming, which we haven't even spoken about yet. We haven't even gotten to yet, but and we're at 45 minutes. But look, for me, I don't really want to set up an entire game just to play it by myself. I just don't want to do that. I want the interaction with people. And, if I'm going to get out cheese and dip, I want to enjoy it with other people.
That's it. Taunt me over that cheese, Dana.
I need to partake in this cheese and dip.
If I wasn't ill today, I'd have been over there stuffing my mousy little face with
Red Leicester.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and
so
the ladies would have had none at all. But yeah.
But look, I would rather play the digital version, to be honest. Just for the effort of. Yeah. Just easier.
Well, actually, we might now move on to the business with solo games, because I think that'll tie in nicely. And again, it's, I guess, the setting up of a board to play a solo game compared to, for instance, being able to play it solo on in an electronic format. There is, I guess, the pros and cons of that. I must admit that while I do tend to buy a lot of games with if it plays one, I'm happy because it means that I can play it at home. But to be quite honest, I don't think I've played any solo games at home that I haven't gone and decided to play online on Steam or something like that.
So if it caters for 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, are you saying that you wouldn't ordinarily play that solo because it's...
No, well, even if the game was just a solo, unless it's a fairly simple game, like one of my favourite games is an oldie from Games Workshop or Citadel or whatever they called themselves back in the day, called Chainsaw Warrior. And they implemented it as an app, which I don't think exists anymore. But the app certainly made the game so much quicker in the fact that you didn't have to set and shuffle the cards and everything. But, for me, a solo game really needs to be, I guess, very streamlined. Because I think if you're going to have to spend an hour or something setting everything up or... that's an exaggeration, I think. But if you've got to spend, say, 15 minutes or something setting the game up, and and you stuff up your first couple of turns and the game's over after 5 minutes, you're there going, wow, that was a lot of effort for no actual return. But the option is always there for me. But to be quite honest, I really prefer the company of people over solo games. But then there are a lot of people who don't have that facility. They're in isolation or they're in remote communities, and for them, the only way they can get, and there is quite a few sites on Facebook and social media that deal specifically with solo plays. And there are a lot of people who do it. So it is still a very valid play system. But, for me, look, the only one that really sticks to mind for me would be, as I said, the old Game Saw Warrior, where it was sort of based on the Escape from New York type thing, where you've got to get out of... a bit like the movie. I can't quite remember its theme, except that you've only got 60 minutes, and each time you go through your deck, your time starts to tick down, and you're really racing against the clock to try and finish this thing. And of course, the chief baddie at the end is, you've got to have a certain combination of weapons to actually destroy it, and then of course it comes down to a dice roll. So I can see a lot of people won't like that because they say, "Oh, it's too random." too random with its determination. But, I found it to be a fun game. It was very popular in its day. Yeah, Matt, I know you are enjoy solo games.
I do. It's a facet. I mean, I still like playing the group games. It depends on the game. Like, when I think of solo games, I don't think of your standard game and then playing it just solo. I think of like games specifically that I get for playing solo, or games that really convert to solo play easily and well. Yeah, when we were discussing the topic, I pulled out a couple of each examples. Like, there's games that are multiplayer that have a solo option, and then there's games specifically designed for solo play. And then I've got a whole bunch of like print and play games that a lot of those tend to lean towards the solo playing. It's kind of, in my brain, it's the same as doing a Sudoku or playing solitaire,
Yeah.
the card game. It's something you take out with a cup of coffee, and it should be easy to set up, like you said, John, and it should be streamlined and just play easily and well, but still give you some sort of that hands-on game experience that you get when you can't get together with people. That's how I see it. Like, I was off sick and I played some games on my own when Wanda's working, or on my days off when she's working, or what have you. And it's just something to pull out when I got a free hour and play a couple games. I can actually squeeze a couple in.
Do you take them with you, like out with you? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I got some that are pocket sized, those button shot games, where they're like 18 cards.
Yeah.
They're brilliant for that. The two of the games that I pulled for examples for games that aren't specifically solo, like Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah.
I love that game, but you can play it just as easily solo as you do multiplayer, and you still get pretty much the same experience with that. Dinosaur Island Roaring, right? The solo on that is brilliant because it's just a 6-card little AI that you flip over one card every round. It takes some of your dice out of your selection pool and places them on spots that you would go on with your worker placement. So it takes those choices out of for that round. I don't know if you played the Imperium Classics or the
No, I
Legend.
haven't.
No, I haven't.
No.
It's a good one, but that's one of those multiplayer games, but it plays solo. But that's got a really complicated AI that I still have to follow the rule book to. It's fun, but it can take a few hours with that one. So that's one of those ones that are like borderline. Specific games, like one of the ones I just got was Final Girl.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Season
What's
1 and
it
Season
like?
2.
Because I noticed that people do rave about it.
I've held off on it for so long because I just couldn't bring myself to buy 2 boxes to play one game. That's just me. You need the core box, and then you need one of these feature film boxes to actually play it. But I've just been looking at it, and I got the Camp Happy Trails, which is the Friday the 13th
From Season
knockoff.
1.
Because they got a knockoff of all these. They got Nightmare on Elm Street knockoff, and The Thing knockoff, and Aliens knockoff. They're all their version of all these classic horror genres. But yeah, the Season 1, the very first one, I think. And it's excellent, honestly. You set it up, it's not too hard to set up. If it's very thematic because you're like on the edge of your seat, it ramps up. The monster keeps getting stronger and faster and coming at you, and you're desperate to keep all these things in check, and all your meters are going crazy. And yeah, it was really
what
an
about
excellent play.
replayability? Sorry, Joe.
No, I think so. I've played it 4 times now. I've won twice and lost twice. With these solo games, I like to have at least a 70-30 that I'm going to lose, because it makes you want to challenge it and come back to it again, or else if you're winning it too
You
easy.
zip through it, yeah.
Yeah, but this one, I think, and there's even a difficult board, and there's more harder cards you can throw into the deck to make it more difficult. So I think it's going to have some replay to it. Just the one box alone, which is nice. But that's specifically solo. And then I've got Friday, the
I've heard
Freeman
about
Freeze
that
Friday.
little small box card game. Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm.
Deck builder. Little deck builder game. You got to go through these challenges and build up your deck and skim out the garbage and get the really good cards so that you can go on and face the pirates at the end of this Robinson Crusoe themed little story. And it's a great little game, and you lose more often than you win, but it makes you come back to it. And there's another one I got, Arkham Noir,
Okay.
which is a mash of H.P. Lovecraft with the old 1920s
Yeah.
noir, gumshoe movies, black and whites.
I'm going to have to look for
And
that now, Matt, because
it's out there. I checked because it wasn't available. Now it's out there.
One of my favorite.
I recommend it.
Favorite IPs.
It's the both the themes caught my attention. The H.P. Lovecraft mixed with the noir films, I thought was a really interesting. It's got a cover. It's a picture of H.P. Lovecraft done up as a detective with his suspenders and his tie on, and he's at the door of his investigation office, and some unforeseen tentacled shadow on the outside knocking on his door.
I like that.
But it's a card layout. It's like solitaire. There's cards being fed at you, and you got to keep all these cards matched up, and you gotta work out these things before these other time run out on you, and you run out of cards, and then it's over. I like those type of games. So, but I mean, you're talking half an hour once you know the game and you got your head around them, and you got the setup, play, and everything within half an hour. You can bang out a couple of these. I've tried games like, one of my favorite games is Paladins of the West Kingdom, and all those Garfield games have like AI, versions, but I've tried them and I can't do that type of game solo that way, like what you guys are thinking of, setting up the whole thing just to play it by yourself. I'd rather play Paladins with Wanda or with, the girls and everybody, or somebody, 3 or 4 other players. But these other games, I think, lend themselves, especially the Friday and the Arkham. And a lot of these print and plays, like I said, you got your Railroad Inks and your, the Super Pinball. These all games that really just play quickly and easily solo. But the button shy games, that's the last two. I get a lot of these print and play. I mean, you can kickstart these button shy games for $3 for the print and play, and then usually a month after they have the Kickstarter finished and they got the art finalized, you've got the download files that you can print out, and then you just sleeve them. Once you print them on a decent thick paper and you cut them all out front and back, you sleeve them, and you wouldn't know the difference between that and a regular card. Yeah, but it's not all games for me, but I do like to pull out the solo games.
Well, I noticed that, Joe, you have quite a good collection from, I think, DVG, and that I know myself. I've been looking at, I think it's White Dog. Can't remember what their last. All I can remember is White Dog, because they've got one there called Mrs. Thatcher's War, which deals with the Falklands campaign, and it's strictly a solo one. But Joe, I know, has got I think one that we're chasing is B-17. It's quite a popular game, I think. Is that a DVG game, Joe? The B-17?
It is, yes.
And they've got ones like Warfighter and.
Yeah, they do, but they're not solo per se.
So but not strictly solo. True.
Yeah. But yeah, DVG, and I was going to make this comment earlier around the Golden Geek Awards for War theme, because that's where I see, obviously, the genre being in that, strategic type war themed. So out of those DVG ones, I've got quite a bit of them. But my favorite one that I've played quite regularly and embarked on campaigns with, but a little bit of setup, with the DVG stuff is U-Boat Leader, probably because of the the connection with the PC game from the early 90s. But you're absolutely right. His DVG and some of the other publishers, and Compass, I think, is another one. Will have those types of variations. One that I haven't played in a solo one, John, is when I got Undaunted Reinforcements. I haven't gone back to play that as a solo with North Africa campaign or Normandy campaign. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But similar to Matt, I think I've gone and particularly targeted games that I only want to play as solo. So, there are games like Lacerda, which I think Lacerda makes a great solo and publishes a great solo capability. And particularly, the theme carries on across them, like Sandra is the police lady in Escape Plan, for example, or the factory floor manager in Kanban EV, type thing. So Escape Plan is one that I really enjoy in solo, but you've got to pull it out and set it up. So if I know that the wife and the child are away for the afternoon, I typically will arrange to play games with people. Most of the time, it'll either be with you, John, or we gang up on each other at LXG or something like that. But if it is solo, then I'll punch through a couple of the 20 to 30-minute ones like Marquis and Coffee Roaster. Coffee Roaster, I think I've mentioned before on the podcast, is a really good. It's quick to set up, and it's got a really good campaign and escalating difficulty that you can play with it. So that's one. That's a really good, reasonable price. But Matt, you just reminded me that I backed on Kickstarter a kind of roll and write for trains. So very similar to Age of Steam, boom boom. So add that in there. And it's actually by Dice Pen, and I think it only cost me something like €10 and comes with an annual subscription that every month will get a new map pack. And there's about 7 map packs that I haven't, actually downloaded to print. So there's April maps was, I'm just having a look now, is Slovakia. And so yeah, it's I must get that out, print it, have a go, and see if I can give it a rating on a podcast in the next couple of weeks, I think. So that's probably my focal point, is to try and get some of these roll and writes that I've backed, and they're great value because obviously they're not having to produce anything, but you're still getting that brain teaser that you need, whether it's like a Sudoku sit down and try and do a puzzle or a crossword. And that's where I see the roll and writes, and particularly if I'm sitting on a bus or a train, I'm either listening back to this podcast because it's such a great podcast, and I don't know why we didn't win a Golden Geek Award. But all I can say, it's just rigged, and the Russians are coming. So, hey.
Fair enough. What about you, Dana? Have you got any you like playing solo? Well, obviously, teaching yourself to play games to teach people is obviously perhaps part of your solo existence.
The only look, I really don't go out of my way to play games solo, other than I do play electronically. Like what Joe said, I play Terraforming Mars on Steam, and I've played Concordia and Brass on Steam. But look, I really just, the part of me, well, for me, gaming is, yes, 50% the game, but probably 40% of it is the people that I'm with and the interaction with people. And, because I value that so much, playing by myself, I lose 40% out of 100 out of the enjoyment that I have in board gaming. So it doesn't really suit me. Having said that, I do it to learn a game. Like I play a game on my own, and if I do play it by myself, I don't use the AI that's built in to the game. I'll just play two-handed or three-handed or four-handed or whatever.
Doing Rado.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I play. And I even have a character name called Bert who plays, and it's really annoying when he beats me. and he's me, but he beats me. But yes, like for example with Revive, I played a 4-player game, but I played by myself, and I have it set up on the table, and I just walk around the table in a circle, taking turns. So if you were to have me on video and you speed it up, you would just see this person going around and around the table.
That's tempting, you know.
It does mess it up a bit when you play a game like Icky, or maybe if you're playing a game like Viticulture, where the turn order changes. Now then that becomes really confusing, because then I'm zigzagging like between different turns, and then I can't remember what the other person's done, and it's very frustrating. So it's not ideal. If that's the case, I'll only play 2-player. But before a barbecue day, for example, if I need to learn a game to teach one, I like to try and play it with the maximum player count if I can, because then questions might come up about certain parts of the game. So yeah, but that's what I'll do. But like I said, for me, it's just not the same without the cheese and the people.
All right, the Red Leicester. For anybody that actually stocks Red Leicester, you can just send me your supply. It's about the only cheese that I'll eat now. I got spoilt, didn't I, Dana?
Yeah, that's right. I can't help it. There's something about cheese and board games. It goes perfectly together.
Well, certainly the Red Leicester. I think I can do with the rest, but the Red Leicester is... yes, I've become spoilt by the people I know with what they bring round.
That's right. Oh, Joe, an antipasto platter with board games.
Well, look, I'm just going to bring the almond biscuits and the cannolis for
prosciutto. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dear.
All
right.
Joe, we mentioned the coin games in the war game episode. Have you tried the solo bots on any of the coin games? Have you tried doing the whole coin game solo?
No, Matt. I've absolutely been smashed with honey and bees. Hopefully the good thing about bees is that they hibernate when it gets under 18 degrees Celsius. So here's the science lesson for the day. Is that now it's winter and I get about 3 months.
You got more free time.
3 months off without having to do much, and then I'm trying to find a size for John to come and help me look after some bees next season. And hopefully you're not anaphylactic.
No, I'm not. Nothing's been able to kill me yet. Yes, no matter how much one's tried, yes, still here. All right, well, look, we've come to the end of our episode. Was there anything else that anybody would like to mention about solo gaming? Anything that's really poignant?
It's really lonely.
It's peaceful. Yes, well, there's the peaceful solitude.
There's more cheese for me. So.
But what about when you're doing like this really cool turn where you've got all these combos happening and one action leads to another action, and there's...
What, you got to brag to somebody now. You're like, look how cool I am.
At the same time.
And there's just no one there, but I don't know. But even I like looking at other people's turns and going, wow, look at what you just did. Oh my God.
Is that what you do? You spy on my hand? That's it.
Oh dear. All right then, everybody. Look, I would like to thank Matt for joining us for another episode. We will have him lined up for when we do our art in board games when we get time to organise the people for that. But Look, thank you everybody for listening. If you would like to be part of this podcast, please drop me a line on our social media platform. We now actually have a podcast Facebook page, of which we have the stunning Stanley as our Facebook page header, and it's the perfect picture.
Yeah.
Stanley
the Wonder Dog.
Stanley the Wonder Dog sitting at a table playing Everdell, and there's that bloody tree I want to have got rid of. So, but yes. Anyway, well, look, thank you, everybody. It's good night from me.
Good evening, everyone.
Good night. Thanks for the memories.
And we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.